Hi, this is Tim Clark, the End Times Matrix News, coming to you live today with the Wheel in the Sky presentation that Chris is going to be doing for us. And you tune in tomorrow, we have Anthony Patch joining us with some earth-shattering news that you won't hear anywhere else. So we'll be on tomorrow with Anthony, ballpark around 12 noon Eastern. If we get all our stuff right, but that's about the time. So today we're going to do about a 1 hour show on Wheel in the Sky, Fallen Angels, and CERN. And Chris has quite an elaborate layout for us that I'm sure everybody will enjoy. And we'll go ahead and kick it over to Chris and let her go ahead and get started. And then I'll chime in whenever you want me to ask questions or anything. Okay, go ahead, Chris.
All right. Hey, everybody. I have a presentation today on the Wheel in the Sky with a lot of different connections with symbolism and with CERN and the Mark of the Beast and the false Alpha and Omega. I just wanted to put some information out there. A lot of people has left comments asking and emailed asking about our web pages, and there they are, and below you'll see them too. But that's how you can contact us or keep up with our shows. So today we're going to be talking about the Wheel in the Sky and how they connect to the angels and the cherubim and the seraphim, and which is the throne of God. And before that, I wanted to talk about this that connects to it. The ancient symbols for the Tav and the Aleph, I looked that up, and what it means is plowshares. And that's a very interesting word, because on my research with Cain, the Scorpion King, he's carrying a plowshare in his hand, and we know that he is a tiller of the ground. And so I did a little research on that, and the symbol is the bull and the cross, and that is the leaf and the taw. And it does mean plowshare when you put those two together. And it means the in English, L in Catalan, V in Czech, die in German. L means Saturn and the bull. And so this is a picture of Namar, which is Cain, in 3117 BC with the Aleph plow here. On our last show, or a couple of shows ago, we went over this here, what this symbol means, the angels, which is Yahweh. There's a lot of angels that are moon angels. Yah means moon, and a lot of fallen angels are in reference to Yah. And also Jehovah, and they are actually meaning to Saturn. And we went over the Shin and all those symbols. We don't have time to really go over all of them today like we did last time, but they're in our previous shows. This is the Aleph symbol spelled out. It spells out to the number 26, which is the number value of Yahweh. And here is another symbol here when it's in this symbol here. It means Elohim, which are angels, because Yahweh is an angel. And here it's written with El Hey Yam, which is El's son, and Mot is his son, which is Enlil, also in Hades. And Yam is Poseidon in the abyss, which he's referred to as the sea. And so here's the Aleph symbol, that it starts out as an ox head in different, it's also an eagle in Egyptian also, and it turns into this letter here. So it's A in English and N in Hebrew. Here it is sideways like Cain was carrying it. So one thing I wanted to show today was that the plow also is called the Pleiades, which is Ursa Major, the bear. I researched that and realized that there's so many connections to the Pleiades, which represent Saturn. Orion represents Mars, and in the Bible, when you translate those letters and the verses, I'll show you in a little bit, but Plow is, those symbols, the Alpha and the Omega, which is the false Alpha and the Omega, and this goes along with the Kabbalah. And by no means am I teaching Kabbalah. I follow Jesus Christ, and these are things that we expose so that way people can understand that these are things that have been hidden from the mainstream in order for them to carry out plans and do things that they want to do in these end times. So that's why I'm bringing these things up and showing these things today. So keep in mind the Plow is the Pleiades, and this is also the leg of the bull. And I'll go into more detail on that. Here's Ceres. This is the planet, or the dwarf planet, that was coming into our solar system. And this is what she means in the mythology, is the yoking of oxen and plowing, the sowing, protection, and nourishing of the young seed, and the gift of the agriculture to humankind. And this is Dagon. He's also connected to the plow. It has something to do with the harvest, I know. With the here is the sickle, and here is Demeter. She also is Ceres, and Rhea, which is the female counterpart of Satan, which he represents Saturn. And so this is what this means. The sickle is the leg of the bull, and the sickle means the plow. In Egyptian, it's kofash, and it means sickle, leg of the bull. In Hebrew, it's shin, which is the letter shin that's on the teflon that the Jews wear on their head. And this is the leg of the bull, and it's in reference to Set, which Set and Horus, they're a split deity, but they're also one deity. And we went over a lot of these things on our last show here too, with Batal and Isis being one deity. That has to do with the resurrection of Saturn in the Egyptian, but in the Greek, it's Mithra. So later on, they did Mithracism in the churches. This is where they wear these certain hats, and this is Castor and Pollux, the Gemini twins, and they look a lot like Mithra. But I wanted to say that Arcturus is the zenith star of the Hawaiian Islands. He represents Enlil, and he's the protector of the Pleiades. And I just found that interesting because of the meaning of it, which I want to get more into. Arcturus means ash, it meaning the constellation of the Great Bear. This is from its migration through the heavens. And here are some verses about the Pleiades, which represent Saturn. If you translate the Bible words, that's what they mean. And Orion is Mars. And so here's some verses here, that talk about Arcturus and his sons, and Orion and the Pleiades, and Job, and the Mazzaroth, which is the constellations, the cosmic skies there. And here's the bull, and I have figured out that this is the bee. The bull, the Pleiades and the Hyades in the bull, and these are the antennas, and this represents the bee. And it's interesting because CERN just got this bee award for the best Twitter page. This is a award for CERN. And here's another picture showing the Pleiades as the leg of the bull. And here's some more scripture. You copy this or write it down, but these are more scriptures about Venus. And Venus is Lucifer. He is the fake morning star. Jesus is the true morning star, and he is God. And I know that Satan wants to mimic the Lord, and he wants to be God. But here's just some more verses in regards to the planet Jupiter and Venus and Baal, which is El, and he's Yahweh. He is the husband of Asherah. There's a lot of ancient artifacts that have come up with text showing Yahweh is Asherah's husband. And here is another in reference to Jupiter. Jupiter is the main focus because the Vatican put up a Jupiter statue. There's Jupiter temples, and that's the Mithra temples are in honor of Jupiter. The Pillar of the Boatman from the Celtics is in honor of Jupiter, and it has Cernunnos on it, which he is the stag god that's the keeper of the gate of Hades, and Castor and Pollux, which are Hermes and Apollo. And so this Pillar of the Boatman represents Jupiter. It's in honor of Jupiter from the Celtics.
Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Cernunnos. What did you say again? He was the goat god that guards the gates of hell?
Yeah.
And CERN is derived from Cernunnos?
Probably.
I just wanted to emphasize that to the people listening. That would you, in your wildest dreams, choose the route of the guy guarding the gates of hell for your the largest machine on our planet Earth? Would you name him that? Sorry to interrupt. I just had to make that point.
Yeah, that's a good point. So Castor and Pollux are very interesting, and Tim and I have another show that we'll be doing that'll go more into detail on these two twins and how one's immortal and one is not. One was Osiris, which was Cain, and so these are brothers. One was immortal and one was not, Apollo and Hermes. And here's Yam, he's the god of the abyss, and Belus and Agenor were his children. They were twins. They were the father of Cadmus, who was the father of Semele. And these people are logged in text and history. So through bloodline of Japheth. Belus and Agenor, they're twins. Their son is Cadmus. His daughter Semele, and she's also Mut in Egypt, and she is the one that married Namar in order to combine Upper and Lower Egypt, and that's why she wears the double crown. And here's a picture of Apollo and Hermes as Enki and Enlil. And so I was going to continue on with the wheel in the sky and the angels. The wheel in the sky represents the zodiac, and it represents it's a lot to explain, but I'll just go over this here. This is the zodiac, and this is the four north, south, east, and west, and this is the Pleiades. So what I wanted to explain was that they represent the directions of the sons of Horus. So the sons of Horus are tied in with the Pleiades also. And this is what they are also associated with: amino acids, 4 Testament Gospels, 4 horsemen of the Apocalypse, 4 children of Horus. They're also the canopic jars that is another deep study, but what they represent is the swastika, and it has to do with a rotation that's tied to Sirius, which is the soul of Isis. And this is the side lock that he wears. He also is Khufu, Khonsu, which Khonsu is Dionysus, and in the Greek language, that's what it means. And so this has a lot of connection to do with the Greeks. They show it in a little bit different way. later on in history, they have different statues, and just like the Celtics, in each culture, they show it in a different way, the resurrection of Saturn with Jupiter and these deities that are tied with CERN and the wheel in the sky. But I just wanted to put here that this was the angel hierarchy. This is the seraphim and the cherubim, and the thrones or ophanim. These are the first sphere. And the second sphere is the dominions, the virtues, stronghold, powers, authorities. And the third is the principalities, rulers, archangels, and angels. And cherubims, which Satan was a cherubim, and he was also connected to the seraphim, and the wheel, which is the ophanim, and he was the cherubim with the four faces of an ox, a lion, an eagle, and a man, and with four wings. And so he was supposed to guard the tree of life in the Garden of Eden. And I do believe through a lot of shows that we've done, we've explained how that is one of the trees in the garden that represent the tree of consciousness, and it also represents DNA. Here's a verse from Ezekiel, and talking about the anointed cherub. And he, in the Bible, it explains how Satan was, he was good in the eyes of God before he became evil. Evil was found in him, and he fell. The ophanim, they're the wheels that are associated with Daniel, and they're the wheels of the gallon, and the fiery flame of the four-eyed cover wheels. And so they're nested like two wheels. And these wheels, from what I understand, they move in any direction. And so it's just interesting that he was tied to this and a wheel, and it possibly could be his chariot that he had, in the sky. And this is one of the wheels in the sky that was part of the throne of God before he was cast out of heaven. And here's all the verses, that Satan was a created being, and not created with any evil in him. He was found with iniquity in him. He was in a covenant with God. He was anointed by God for specific purposes. He was in a class of angels called the cherubs. He was also described as a seraphim and a winged fiery serpent. He was a priest unto God, and he was called Lucifer, a son of the early light, and named Lucifer, which means bright morning star. And so here's a verse that says that we are not to worship the sun and the moon and the stars, and we are not. That includes not worshiping the fallen angels, and not chanting and going into the celestial realms with them, because they are in reference to the planets and the universal, the constellation system, which I'll show you here. So there's seven fallen angels. Osiris, he was resurrected to the underworld. But here's some pictures here that I'll go over. This is CERN. This is a picture of the Higgs boson. It has this circle to represent it here. This is the Dendera Egyptian map. This is the United Nations symbol. This is I got this from Enter the Stars 5, so on his video. This was IEOU, Gnostic Society Library, and this was their symbol of God. And I thought it was interesting because it represents the universe and the planets and the constellations.
So when we're shooting a bow and arrow at that target and we hit the bullseye, what does that mean? I don't know. I'm just
the center of the wheel. I'll show you the wheel. Here's the wheel. This is this represents the phallus and the other part, Isis and Horus, the connection in the middle for the wheel. And so the wheel represents the Kabbalah tree. The wheel represents this top of the Ankh, which Shiva dances in, and she holds the lightning bolt of Poseidon, and Jupiter. It's the same thing. And this right here is Mithra. This is the same as the primordial egg of Egypt and the Ogdoad and the 8 that represent the constellation. They're broken out into 12. So 4 souls of Horus are 4 up above and 4 below: Osiris, Set, Nephthys, and Isis. So these 4 deities are the 4 souls of Horus, and they also represent 3 spirits, which is 3, 6, 9, 12. And then 12 times 12 is 36 deacons in the constellations. And so all of that adds up to 666.
I think that picture, if Anthony, I think, commented, it represented a cell also. That
Yeah.
if you look at that, it's a cell. It does look like a cell from when you did biology with the, interesting. It's totally interesting.
Here's Mithra as a lion. He has a goat on his back, but you can't see it. Usually this has a cross on it to represent the 8. When you pull the cross up, it turns into a pyramid. So the Giza pyramid represents 8, as above, so below. And this is Mithra with the hat. He looks actually just like Ganymede, which is the cupbearer of Jupiter. And he also looks like Pollux and Castor. See how they had the hats too? Those were the old Jewish, well, I won't say old, because the Egyptian had skull caps, and they did too. That represents Jew.
You know, it made me think from our previous show when we were showing the phallus hats on the old statues, that this is just a more modern version of the phallus hat. It's changed, morphed down into this shape. But it's still, you could tell it's still related to those old phallus hats that we had talked about.
Yeah, they represent being Jewish, and they wear them when they pray, from what I understand. But yeah, there's all different kinds of hats, but they do mean the same thing. This is kind of what the sun is the center of the egg, and that's what they call they call it the primordial egg, which is an electric force, and that is how Mithra was supposedly born from a rock with a hat on, and which is interesting because some rocks, like the Giza Pyramid, has live elements in it, and it's like a computer. And even the Stone of Scone, which Queen Elizabeth sits on, has an evil spirit in it, and when the rightful owner sits on it, it screams out. So all the rocks, and that's why, a lot of cultures will say that the land has spirits in it, or these rocks have spirits, or, this mountain has the rainbow serpent spirit in it. And they say that because a lot of spirits dwell in the stones. And so I just think it's interesting that they referenced him being birthed from the cosmos from a stone, from a primordial egg. In Thoth, he was an ibis bird. So I find that interesting with that connection, because he is also represents the Ben stone, which Ra manifested himself in at the top of the Giza pyramid.
You can also see the symbolism in the last Noah movie with the rock monsters that they had in that, the Gnostic symbolism of the being encased in rock and then the spirit burst force out of it. And, I think that's connected with some of this Gnostic belief of matter and spirit.
Yeah. This is the tower, or it's not the real picture, but it's a picture of the Tower of Babel, what someone imagined it to be like. And it did, there is records of the measurements of it and everything, but it was never finished. And so it's a circular spiral motion, kind of like the Milky Way galaxy. And it was it represents the planets and where they are and where the sun shines in certain places. And it just like the Dendara temple and all the temples that they had, in history, they would build them a certain way, and they would do the stretching of the cords ceremony, which they first did with Ham. Kamakezwe, I forget how to say his name, but he's a pharaoh, was the first pharaoh. They did the stretching of the cord ceremony, and so we know Nimrod was from his bloodline, and he wore the clothing of Adam. So it's just interesting, that we see Thoth as Seshat wearing the leopard prints. And then we see Shiva and Kali, which they represent Thoth as well, wearing the leopard print. Mm-hmm. And they're one deity, and then they're dancing in the Shiva ring. But Hathor and Thoth also did Dance of the Cosmos too. And the CERN machine has actually, CERN has glass plates in it, and it's a musical instrument. It's not just something that has the particles in it, or finding the God particle. It has glass plates in it, and it's like like the old Egyptians we've explained before, how they had tuning forks and all those things. Mm-hmm. And
I used to know a lady that was trained in playing the glasses, and she would play them for me. With the different levels of water in them, and come up with all these amazing sounds. And that I didn't know they had that incorporated inside CERN also. Yeah. Yeah.
Here we have, Isis represents Venus and Lucifer too. We've explained how, it was like the phallus was missing, and she was the resurrected Saturn, as Patal is Tubal-Cain, so they used that bloodline of Cain for the resurrection of Saturn back then. And we did that show, lots of mm-hmm. shows on that. And mm-hmm. then she has the electric box on her back. So I just kind of wanted to mention that not to confuse everybody, because this is the same thing, Mithra, and they, a lot of cultures picked up these magic books of Thoth and the Book of the Dead, and they worship Jupiter, and they do it all in different ways. So this is when they have the Mithra temples. Anyone can find that they're the temples of Jupiter, and that's who they worship. And this eagle represents Jupiter.
And Jupiter is also the resurrected Saturn.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and he also represents Bel and Patal. I was just going to say below, I'll put a video if you want to watch it. Face Like the Sun did one video, and then there's another link with our End Times Matrix News that we did a video together about CERN. And on their video, I just wanted to point out that they put, on Gravity Falls, you see his forehead, how they put the Pleiades on his head. So this means plowshare on his head. This is basically another symbol of the mark of the beast. Dionysus represents the leg of the bull, and Horus does too, the four spirits of Horus, and so this is actually represents the plow and the great bear and 7 Pleiades. And the 7 is interesting because Zayin is the 7th letter, and it is the 4th letter of the Shin on the Teflon, and the Jews they said they were reserving that for the new world to come. And so I find that really interesting as well. But so that's the end of my presentation. Tim and I have some other interesting shows that we're going to do down the road on the CERN and their dances that they did, and all of the occult that I had no idea that they did. Nude dancing. Now, we won't show a lot of nude pictures and stuff like that, but they did a lot of crazy stuff, and whipping mountains, and going out in their underwear and whipping the water. And they did like CERN conferences showing these things, and I thought, this is the most bizarre things ever. But Tim and I will do a show on that and show some information on that when we break some stuff down. So
Yeah, it's no, it's fascinating. We're watching this whole thing unravel in front of us. Let's see, we have Anthony tomorrow on the 19th, and then that's one day before the eclipse. That is really interesting. I was watching with the slew.com guys yesterday, the Aurora Borealis, and they were just, when we had the magnetosphere was just lighting up, and they were up in Iceland and I'll just they were up in Iceland, and they're going to be sitting out there. So I'm just giving a heads up to people if they want to watch the eclipse, a full eclipse. Slooh.com, SLOOH.com, will be offering it. Now I don't know if we'll all crash their servers or not by everybody trying to watch a full eclipse, but I think it's Friday morning Eastern time. I'll have to check on that. It's like 8 or 9 in the morning or something like that where they are. But you can reference that. They usually put on a really good show, and that's what when I can't see a live astronomical thing because of either the sky's got too many clouds in it, or as with this eclipse, it's not going to be over the United States, so we won't get to see it. But we can see it from the they're going to have all of these eclipse telescopes and stuff right there, right under it, shooting straight up, and see the whole thing. It's very prophetic. I know there's people who don't believe in the significance of the blood moons, but I think regardless of what you believe, it's a very interesting event. And we've been looking at March as with this. I know we sent around the link of the Agnolia festival as of the 17th, which was a martial festival celebrating Mars, and we noticed that it corresponded with Mars and the with all this Putin stuff going on and going to DEFCON 3 that we were following also. We didn't do shows on that, but the point is that we potentially are in a wartime situation, very rapidly escalating. And considering that the political scene with the hostility between Russia and the United States, Obama and his hostility with Netanyahu, and and of course our economy, the dollar. It's a very volatile time, and we're trying to do as much as we can in a short period of time. So the future shows coming up, I have some stuff on end times revelations, and my perspective has changed on a few things that I will share with you when we do that. Of course, we have more CERN stuff, and tomorrow, of course, Anthony's going to present something that nobody else is talking about on the internet. And we're also going to clear up some CERN-related questions since everybody's involved in CERN mania right now. So Anthony will field the questions on how to clear up some of the CERN confusion with what's going on based on their timetable and the experiments they're running. And I think that'll do it for us today.
Yeah, he definitely has some breaking information, and it's going to be a really good show tomorrow. So I hope everybody can watch it.
Okay, well, thank you very much for watching this, and join us with Anthony Patch as we go over the breaking news tomorrow on the 19th. Thank you.